What is going on, Soccer Card Fiends? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day, and today we're here to talk about the strikers that are on the move for the USMNT going into 2022. So to start off the winter transfer window, day one, we get two strikers out of the MLS, which is ideal for USMNT fans. We want to see our youngsters progress and move on in terms of the games. So we have Ricardo Pepi, who has been bought by Augsburg for about 20 million. So I'm going to go ahead and head on over there now, and we can talk about that. So right here you can see Fabrizio Romano with the tweet. There actually was some pretty heavy rumors that he was going to be going to Wolfsburg. I essentially thought it was done, but turns out last second Augsburg came on through and signed him on a permanent move from FC Dallas. So 20 million plus add-ons, which is pretty immense. I remember whenever Daryl Dike was at his peak with Barnsley, people were talking, Twitter people were talking, they're like maybe 15, 20 mil, and everyone thought that that was preposterous, which, I mean, that's Daryl Dike compared to Ricardo Pepi, but still, the idea of getting 20 million for an MLS striker was seen as kind of crazy talk before, and we managed to do it. Not who we thought it would be with Daryl Dike, instead with Ricardo Pepi. So very excited to see that. Spoiler, Daryl Dike is also the other striker that got loaned out. We'll talk about him here in a second, but big move there. As far as where Augsburg sit in the table, currently they are 15th, so that's not great. I mean, just zooming in there, not ideal. 1 point above what is the playoff relegation playoff spot they'd have to go for. Not great. I mean, whenever you look around, though, there are a lot of teams that are very close. I mean, 11th in the league is 21 points, and Augsburg has 18, so they're not terribly far behind. It's not like I would say that they're likely to get relegated, but this is probably the progression that they're looking for in their team. If you're going to spend 20 mil on someone, especially this young, and if you're this low in the table with not a lot of monetary funding, it's got to be meaningful for your club, and we'll get into that now. So I'll actually look at this first. As far as their highest transfer fees that they've ever paid for a player, it is Martin Hinteregger, who was 11.5 mil. Now that was 4 years ago, so maybe that's 13 mil today. But I mean, essentially that's double the most that they've ever paid for anyone. So that's pretty wild to me. Obviously shows that they believe in him and that he will be a starter as soon as possible. Maybe they work him into the lineup for a game or two or something, but obviously if you're going to spend that type of money, you need some production. So this is very risky on their part. I mean, signing what is right now an 18-year-old, soon to be 19, I mean, that's big money for something that's so unproven. I mean, as you can see here and all the other people that they've bought, 23, 26, 23, 22, 22. So people in their low 20s, essentially. I mean, I don't even see a teenager in here in sight. So that kind of tells you how this club is typically ran. And so this is a big splash, and they must believe in Ricardo Pepi, which is great. He will get playing time here, which is better than Wolfsburg, where he might not have. They have a lot of striker options. Essentially, right now, Augsburg's in a situation where they have very few strikers, and they also have a lot of injuries. So given that, this seems like it's going to be good for them. As far as the stats go, I've listened to some people talk about Augsburg as far as how they function as a team. This guy that I listen to is into the Bundesliga. He says essentially that they're a non-attacking team, more kind of hit you on the press or hit you on the counter and see what you can do. That shows here to an extent. I mean, the average possession is 39%, which by no means is great. Beyond that, you can see that they average about a goal per match and on average give up about 1.53. So as you can tell, not really a great squad, really absorbing pressure and then trying to hit people on the counter, which personally, to me, I think that fits Ricardo Pepi. I don't see Pepi being too clean with the ball on his feet. I'd rather see him in front of goal, kind of poaching goals based off whatever can be provided for him. And so given that, I think that this is actually a pretty good move, both considering that he will get playing time and that he'll be in a position where he's not going to really be asked to do anything too outlandish for what he can do at the moment. So I think this is great. One thing as well, I don't know if I have it over here. Okay, I don't have it here, but they do play a 4-4-2. So given that, they have so few striker options at the moment. He's almost always gonna be in that lineup, I'd imagine, which is good. That's what we want to see and give us something to watch in the Bundesliga. But as far as Augsburg's top scorer, I think their top scorer was maybe 3-4 goals. It was something very, very light because on the season they've only scored 17 goals total. So I mean, even if Pepi was here up until this point, I think he could easily be their top goal scorer. So at least he'll be sort of a staple of this team going forward, and I'm excited to see that. As far as his prices have gone for his Bowman, I look at the Bowman, that's his true rookie. I mean, whatever else you want to look at, go ahead, do your thing. But here we can see that today, how many sales do we have today? We have 3 sales today. I actually thought that this blue Bowman, I mean, it's an SGC 9, so I guess you gotta consider that. But the blue, a lot of people like blue because of USMNT colors, kind of goes with that. But yeah, that's selling for $336. I mean, that's of course, we're talking about a insanely high prospect. I think relative to Ricardo Pepi's market, that's not a crazy price. The $150 for a base, that's kind of what I'm going off of here for this sort of multiplier. But I don't know, 150 for the base is a little high. As you can see, just yesterday, the base was 100, so that's a 50% increase in a day. Now, of course, I'm sure some will hit the market, demand to go down. It'll bounce around. Oh, okay. Well, I guess one went off for 240. Shows you how cued in I am on Ricardo Pepi's market. I will say, just for full disclosure, I don't really own any Ricardo Pepi. I also don't own any Daryl Dike that we'll talk about here in a second. I have owned a decent bit of Daryl Dike. I sold most all of it because I just don't think he fits our system very well. And strikers are inflated, overinflated on our team because realistically, the main key components are going to be Pulisic, Reyna, probably Weah, McKinney, Yunus Musa. No one solidified themselves as a striker, so I'm not going to pay $150 for a base Bowman of Ricardo Pepi when, maybe he goes to the Bundesliga, doesn't show out, kind of flounders for a year or two, and where is he? I'm not saying that's going to be the case. I actually think that this move's really, really good for him. I was nervous with the Wolfsburg move because he could have gotten stuck on their depth, and here he'll play. So at least there's that. You want him to be able to play going into the World Cup that we hopefully make. And so with that, I think that this is really good. I'm not hating. I'm just saying paying $150 is kind of tough for me. I base everything in the market right now off of Messi rookie cards. In Messi rookie cards, you can get a decent graded rookie card for $600. So would I want 4 Pepi Bowman base or 1 Messi rookie? Easily a Messi rookie by far, no doubt in my mind. So that's why I struggle. Going forward though, next we have Daryl Dike signing with West Brom, so that's official. We get Daryl Dike back in the championship, which is good. That was his stomping grounds last year, so I'm excited about that. As far as where West Brom sits currently, they are 4th in the championship, so that's good. This is about where Barnsley was last year, which I was surprised to see that they're all the way at 23. I don't know what's happened. I don't watch the championship, but last year he was on Barnsley and they were competing for a promotional spot. They didn't end up getting it. They lost in the playoffs, but this year, not bad, not bad. Now, I will say it's kind of clustered up here between 4th and 7th. There's only a couple points there, and there's 4 different teams. So, there will be bouncing up and down. But I think that that's another good spot. Personally, I don't really even know what I root for in these situations because you want your strikers to be able to score goals and really get a lot of just growth and progression in terms of how they play. So, this is a permanent move. So, even if West Brom doesn't go up to the Premier League this year, I think I'm fine with that because I'd rather our strikers be the best team in a worse division than be on the worst team in a better division where they get no opportunities and can't really grow into the game. Josh Sargent's an example of that. Hopefully we don't see more like that. But he's still very young, just like a lot of these guys are. So, looking at West Brom, essentially Daryl Dike is their 12th highest transfer ever paid. That's not like Ricardo Pepi like we were talking about before where it's kind of mind-boggling, but here, I mean, that still shows what they think of him and what impact he should have for their team going forward. So here, decided to go take a look at just some very basic stats. But top goal scorers, I noticed that there was a very lacking amount of players from West Brom. So essentially, they're 4th in the league, but then when you go to top scorers, I mean, their top scorer is ranked like 35th with 4 goals. So, as you can tell, there's no one man that's standing out. And I think that that could very easily be Daryl Dike. Last year, looking on over here at Transfermarkt, you can see that he got loaned out from Orlando City to Barnsley. At Orlando City, his value was 3.3 mil. And then through his stint at Barnsley, it went from 3.3 all the way up until about 11. I mean, they ended up paying 9.5 for him, so close to 10. And that's because he did very good. At the championship last year, scrolling down just a little bit more, we'll zoom in just a bit, but right there, 19 games, 9 goals, and essentially a goal every 143 minutes. He was just an absolute powerhouse in the championship last year. I think that the league really fits him. The Premier League is very physical, but even the championship more so is just entirely built on physicality. At least from what I could tell, the Barnsley games might not have given me the best impression, but that's the impression I get. And so with that, Daryl Dike, he's a very sturdy striker. You know, you're not going to have to worry about him getting beaten up or taken off ball. If you want someone that can, you know, just absolutely keep control of a game up top in terms of with his physical abilities, he's going to do that. And if you're going to allow him to get away with that, which the championship does, then it's going to be even exploited even more. And I mean, his shooting last year was pretty impressive. Like, he was bearing a lot of really, really interesting shots, like, and with a lot of power. He was spectacular to watch, honestly. So I think getting him back in the championship makes a ton of sense. As far as if I was a club trying to buy him, you're going to get the most value for your buck if he's in the championship. So that makes a ton of sense to me, and I'm happy to see him back over there. As far as his prices, we can look at the Bowman as well. His base Bowman sold recently. I guess that was before the news, but for $35. Not too bad. Before that, it was $39. A 9.5 SGC was $58. A 10 was $175. So you could, I mean, maybe it's a little down, but essentially not doing too bad. I will say I sold this card, so I sold a Daryl Dike for like $80. And then, yeah, I don't think someone sold the same one. No, it wasn't the same. Well, you know, same style of card. They sold it for $129. So I feel like a Timmy, kind of, you know, didn't make the most out of that. Honestly, I just figured probably wasn't going to get a move. And if he's just sitting at Orlando City for the next 6 months until maybe the summer rolls around, or I didn't know. So I wasn't too big of a fan. But again, like I mentioned before, I compare everything to Messi rookies at this point, and while I do love Daryl Dike, I just don't think it makes a ton of sense in terms of, especially our system. With the USMNT players, you have to keep in mind that it's very dependent on if they play for the USMNT, because if Daryl Dike is a US striker, but he doesn't play for the USMNT, people aren't going to care. That's just the way it is. So given that, he has to fit our team. And I know we don't have a striker right now, but Daryl Dike, in terms of link-up play, he's just not the guy. And being good with your feet for our team is important. We play Zach Steffen over Matt Turner because of the fact that Zach Steffen is better with his feet. And so if we're willing to play a goalkeeper just because he's better with his feet, you know, that same sort of mentality is true also for our striker, especially when he's not the main guy. If you're the main guy, then maybe sure, you can get away with not fitting the system. But Daryl Dike is not going to be the main guy. The main guy is going to be Weah coming off him. It's going to be Reyna coming off him. It's going to be McKennie. It's going to be Pulisic. So with that, you need someone that can link up and get the most out of those guys. And Daryl Dike can't do that. So that's why I sold. And, you know, I could have sold at a higher price, but you can't look at all that. Overall, I still think the Daryl Dike market's just a bit high. You know, that's obviously why I sold. That's kind of just the price point that a lot of USMNT stuff's getting to, unless it's widely available. This Bowman set's not widely available, so I think that's why it's kind of held a higher price point. But overall, very excited with the USMNT and happy to see what this means for us going forward. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like. On top of that, tell me what you thought about Ricardo Pepi's move and Daryl Dike's move down below in the comments. Would love to see what the masses think. And if you guys want to see more videos like this as soon as they go live, make sure to subscribe. But with that said, hopefully you have a wonderful day, and peace.